And every single success, every single success story that we hear always starts with an idea. And they're not because they're talented or they're lucky. It's because of how they use the information that is available to them and how they applied their imagination. Hey guys, welcome back to Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. My name is Alec Cuenca and I'm your host. And before anything else, I would like to greet each and every one of you. I want to show my appreciation to each and every one of you who supports this series. For some people who don't know, this is actually a mini series that I'll be doing for every single day. I will be uploading a single episode on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and I'll be even uploading it on YouTube if you want to watch the video where I show off my very minimalistic video. But yeah, I'll be doing this for 2 weeks. I'll be uploading us every single day, and I'll be talking about the different rules, different values, and principles that I think would be necessary for your success. And on the first day, I talked about mindset. On the second day, I talked about habits. On this day, I'll be talking about something that I feel is the secret of people's successes. A lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't know how to use it, but a lot of successful people have used it. So I'm really excited to talk about it. But before that, I just want to remind you that if you want to win, if you want to get a chance to win 2 Grateful t-shirts or 1 Grateful t-shirts, then go ahead and share your insights on Instagram. I will pick the 2 best insight that I will read and I will ship them the t-shirt, the Grateful t-shirt. And you just need to tag me at Small Talk Podcast, share your insight, tag me Small Talk Podcast, and as soon as I repost it, it will be considered as a submission. So, yun lang. So, now let's talk about the third rule of success, which is imagination. So, 100 plus years ago, there was this old doctor who was riding on his horse and stopped by at a drugstore. And then he walked to the back of the drugstore and he talked to this young clerk. And they talked for a few hours at a very low tone. And a few minutes later, the doctor went out to his horse and came back with the magic kettle. Now, the kettle is not something like we see on Aladdin. The kettle is an old-fashioned kettle, very simple kettle, no, not that stylish. And then he handed it over to the clerk. Now, the clerk inspected it and he reached out to his pocket and gave the doctor $500, which was the total of all his hard-earned savings. Now, for the doctor, he thought that he was just selling this kettle. And so he took the 500 and because he felt like it could pay all of his debts and it will make him financially free. So he went to grab the 500 and then he slipped a small piece of paper containing the formula of what's inside the kettle. Then he rode off. For the doctor, he thought that he was just selling the kettle and the formula of what's inside. But for the clerk, he knew that it was worth more than the king's ransom because he was just not buying the kettle and the formula. He was buying an idea. And the magic of the kettle happened when he added a single ingredient that the doctor didn't know about. And this magic kettle had brought him so much wealth and success that he never knew existed. So fast forward, the magic kettle is now the largest consumer of sugar that provides a lot of work for sugar refining mills, for people with people with businesses of sugar canes. It also provided a lot of work for clerks, for accountants, for for advertising agencies, for a lot of artists. The magic kettle has produced a vast amount of wealth in this world that no one expected. The magic kettle has brought us one of the most famous companies here in the world. The magic kettle has brought us one of the most famous drink that existed in history. The magic kettle brought us Coca-Cola. And I know that every single one of you who listens to this know about Coca-Cola, but a lot of us didn't know that Coca-Cola was brought into this world not by hard work, of course of hard work as well, but the main ingredient was not hard work, was not luck, but it was imagination. And what is imagination? Imagination, is it the same with knowledge? Imagination for me is not the same with knowledge. Knowledge is what we know already. Imagination is what we use, is the method of how we use the knowledge that we have. For example, before, we have the knowledge that birds can fly and humans can't. But with imagination, we now know that humans can fly with the use of airplanes. Before, there were no trains. But we knew that horses are fast, and we can't go faster than horses. But with the use of imagination, we created trains that led us to being faster than horses. Before, there were no use or there were no demand for personal computers, but a guy used his imagination. He imagined that every single household in the world needs a personal computer. It's not only for tech guys or nerd people. Now we have Apple, now we have Mac, now we have Samsung, because of someone who used his imagination. And how do we use our imagination? I'll talk about that later. But imagination is something very important, because imagination allows us to create something from the things that already exists. Our imagination is the secret tool in innovating, in creating, in the researches that are available to us. It's because we imagine that it is possible. So how do we use imagination? Do we just think about it? Do we just daydream about it? No. Imagination uses a higher frequency than how we use our brain. I really believe that our brains are sending out frequencies to the world. And now imagination allows us to use a higher frequency that we send out to the world. And that's the only way that we could attract success. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the law of attraction, but in the law of attraction, they say that your thoughts are very powerful because your thoughts create a reality. Your thoughts attract whatever you are thinking. So if you're thinking of a negative stuff, you will attract negative vibes. You will attract negative frequencies around you. If you think positively, if your thoughts are on a higher frequency, you will attract higher frequency, right? And every single success story that we hear always starts with an idea. And they're not because they're talented or they're lucky. It's because of how they use the information that is available to them, and how they applied their imagination, which has helped them achieve success in whatever area they are in. So how can we practically apply our imagination in today's world, right? Is it the same with daydreaming? If I daydream, naisip ko na parang, naisip ko nasa beach ako ngayon. Would it be successful na nasa beach ako? No. Because when you're daydreaming, you're just thinking about a scenario that sends out a very low frequency. If you wanted to reach a higher level of frequency, you need to have a burning desire about it. And the only way to do that is to add all of our senses, include all of our senses, include all of our senses in our imagination. We should just not imagine us like on the beach. If we want to be a successful beach resort or owner, we need to imagine what it looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like, what's the sound like, what is the taste of the food we're eating at that moment. We need to include all of our senses for us to be able to feel it. And once we feel it, our frequencies become higher and higher, and that's more, and that will allow us to attract more positive frequencies around us. I'm not just talking about the universe, weird stuff. You're not a believer of the universe. That's fine. On a practical sense, if you use your imagination, even though that you don't know how to get there,